What's going on? You should be feeling good now that you got that music for your middle of your Wednesday. Hope everybody's doing well. Michael Blake, grateful to be moderating this session today. Campaigns, what to expect in the 2024 hiring cycle process. We are excited to be able to rock with you. Shout out to Gain and everyone for letting us be in the space. Thank you to Mathoni and Justin, the entire team, for letting us be here. Why are we doing this? Because the cycle has begun. This is not about November 2024. This is about what are we doing in June of 2023 to get ready for 2024 and recognizing that there are critical races that are happening even before we get to the presidential election. You think about what's going on in Kentucky for governor, for example, and other congressional races that will be emerging as well. And so what I want to do right now, I want to get right to it. We want to lean right in. This is a concrete, practical conversation that we're about to have on how to prepare for this cycle and how to make sure that our hiring is intentional, especially when you think about how we have a presidential election and a Democratic nominee soon to be, but of course the reelection of President Biden, where you have a Latina in the number one spot in Julie, and then you have a Black man in Quentin, number two. This is a different environment for all of us that we're excited about, that we're embracing, but it's making sure all of our different environments are a part of this conversation. And so to that point, let's bring in everybody that's going to be a part of this dialogue right now. Again, Michael Blake, CEO of Atlas Strategy Group, former DNC vice chair, but it's not about me. It's about how we keep this conversation going right now. So we have many incredible partners. Justin Myers, Blue Leadership Collective, great for your leadership and what you're going to be bringing provided to us today. Craig, VP of Political Affairs for Legal Conservation Voters. Quentin, Political Director for Run for Something. And then Jessica Knight Henry, Deputy Executive Director and Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at the Democratic Senate Campaign Committee. The fact that I got all those words out right there, I should get a medal just for that right there. So I should get a job in my own hiring cycle right there. So let's start with this. Everybody can go online. You can find LinkedIn. You can find the information about that. I don't need people to give your life stories and bios here. I'm going to ask everyone to start off in giving me this piece of information to start. What is one way that this audience can be helpful to you so that is internalized right out the gate? Give them a very practical way when we think about hiring, training, development. Craig, I'm going to go to you first. Then Quentin, then Jessica, then Justin. What is one way that everyone can help? And then we'll dive into the questions we have for today.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks everyone for having me. Craig Oster from League of Conservation Voters. I'd say a lot of campaigns that I talk to really need talented staff. So as you're looking for a job, making sure you have your resume in good shape and into every single resume database, job bank that you can really is important, because these candidates that we want to see elected really need talented folks working for them.
Appreciate that. Let's go to Quentin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Again, my name's Quentin. I'm the political director of Run for Something. I'm going to make it more basic than that. One thing that you could do to help me looking for jobs this cycle is to care about the work that's being done, care about your neighbors, care enough to bring full intention to the work, because whether you're working at the very, very top of the ballot or very, very far down the ballot, we are all fighting misinformation and disinformation, and we're in this struggle of convincing our electorate and the public at large that our institutions and our systems work. And the best way to approach that work is to care, and not to just do this for a quick buck or make this a fly-by-night type of situation. In previous experiences that I've had, we've hired canvassers and they're just here to make a quick dollar, but this work requires care. So please do that this cycle.
Okay, Quentin, I can revive. I see where you're going right there. The preacher in me likes how you start right there. You're like, I need you to care. Okay, so that'll be your Wednesday Bible study, everybody right there. Jessica Knight Henry, what's the one thing people can do to be helping you and supporting your cause?
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for having me. And I think to echo what Craig said is, we need good people. And also with Quentin, with the great intention of doing the work. There's so many races that are critical. Obviously, I care a lot about the federal map in terms of how we not only keep this majority that we have in the United States Senate, but look for ways to expand that. And that really means like bringing talented folks in their communities to help do a lot of that good work. So, you know, raise your hand, be willing to get out there on the road. I know the pandemic really did a doozy on our ability to want to sort of be around each other and get those experiences on the ground. But I think this is a great opportunity and a great cycle to just really get back in the game. Campaigns are fun, so remember that and look forward to seeing everyone on the ground.
Jessica also coming in with probably the best virtual background that I've seen on a StreamYard in a minute, you know, full name, title, and everything. Everybody got to be on the same page right there, aligned. Justin.
Thank you. And yes, Jess is always thorough. Thank you, Democratic Gain, and also Michael for hosting this panel. Justin Myers, Executive Director of Blue Leadership Collaborative. And one thing you can do for us is help us recruit the next generation of talented campaign managers. You know, one of our programs, our banner program, which is a state manager program, seeks to recruit, train, and retain campaign managers who are people of color, who identify as LGBTQIA+, and as women. And this September, we're going to open up the application process for 25 talented individuals to manage state legislative races in places like Pennsylvania next year. So we would love it if the folks watching this could apply. When you see our social media become active, and it is active now, but when it becomes active around recruitment this coming fall, if you could help augment the message and just make sure we're getting to anyone and everyone that, of course, is a talented campaign staffer, has 2 to 3 cycles under the belt, and wants to become a campaign manager, have them apply so that we can make sure we continue to have diverse, talented leaders at the helm of these important campaigns throughout the country.
So to that point, and Justin, I appreciate giving that specificity about campaign managers. I'm going to ask everyone, again, we're going to do a quick round robin here. Give everyone a sense of how many candidates you are looking for talent for. Right? I recognize that there's some variance in that answer there. And if not, approximately how many and what type of roles are you looking to hire for? So again, either number of candidates and or the type of roles you're looking to hire for. Let's start with Quentin.
So that's a really good question. At Run for Something, we've been in the middle of a massive scale up over the last year. It's been actually very, very exciting. We endorse candidates, several hundred every year, and I'm mad at myself for forgetting the number where we're at right now. But the work that we are actually hiring for is really exciting. For the first 5 to 6 years of our inception, I think we're in year 6. Yeah, year 6. For the first 6 years of our inception, a lot of our work has been just very national in scope. We've said, run for something. We have found an audience that is interested in running for office. And we have worked with those interested parties in supporting their candidacy and making sure that they are successful, and we're building the bench across the country. What we've now started to do is to go find people. And part of going to find people has allowed us to create state-based infrastructure. So we're actually looking for organizers in our priority states. And I imagine that as we continue to do well, that opportunity will continue to scale across the country. So like right now, we have 2 openings for organizing positions in Texas and in Michigan. No, we have one in Michigan. Texas and Wisconsin, excuse me. So those organizing associates are actually doing the relational organizing work that will help us soften the ground for folks and convince them that they can run for office. I think it's widely known that it typically takes folks multiple times to be asked to run for office, especially I think the number for women of color, Black women, is like 6 to 7 times. Having those organizers on the ground, building those relationships, caring, that helps soften the ground and give folks the confidence to know that not only can they do it, but they have the support from organizations like Run for Something to have a successful campaign.
All right, y'all. So Texas and Wisconsin, you know, you go find your friends, your cousins, your boo's boo, whoever can go work in Texas and Wisconsin. Quentin is saying that he needs you right now. Craig, talk to us. You know, what are you looking for? Size and scope of the opportunities so people can know how to plug in.
Definitely. Well, so LCV also endorses candidates, and will endorse, you know, around 150 candidates every cycle for Congress, probably talk to twice as many as that. And I know almost all of them are constantly looking for good staff. And especially early on, need really good people on the ground with them, helping them build their fundraising programs, especially early at this point in the cycle. LCV also hires. We have ongoing organizing programs that we have in communities all over the country. And next year, we'll definitely have that scaled up and have paid organizers on both the IE and coordinated sides doing canvassing and member outreach. So definitely also check out our website, lcv.org, for those types of opportunities.
Okay, all right. Humble brag, 150, no small measure right there. Jessica, you have just a few people running for Senate around the country. That's what we're hearing. How many candidates, what kind of roles, and how to plug in?
Certainly. Well, let me take a step back and just quickly primer sort of what the DSCC does. So our main goal is to elect Democratic individuals, a lot of senators, incumbents to the United States Senate. And so this year in the 2024 cycle, we are very much in the business of incumbent protection. More than half of the caucus is up for re-election. I believe there are 19 Democratic senators that are up for re-election, including 4 open seats now that we have in states like Delaware, California, Maryland, and Michigan. So those will be open seats, likely with some competitive primaries on the Democratic side. So obviously all of those teams are hiring in many of those places. But we're also, looking to be on the offense as well. So there are, going to be pickup opportunities in places like Texas and Florida, Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee. So really all over the map. And then when we're looking at the map is explicitly for this cycle, I will say the places where the DSCC are sort of most focused on are thinking about how do we retain this majority is places where Trump was successful in 2020 and places that we know we've got to go and really protect these incumbents. And those are Montana, West Virginia, Ohio. And then when we look at the other sort of side of the map is where we have our most competitive races, where there is overlap with the presidential battleground map. And so those states include that open seat in Michigan, includes Arizona, includes Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. And so looking at those states where we will really be plugging into a lot of resources. But the way the DS hires is really twofold. So obviously those campaigns, the places on the ground that I've just mentioned, and a lot of those roles vary. A lot of our senior team leadership has already been put in place, but we will be ramping up everywhere from digital, comms, research. The DSCC is a very research-heavy organization at this particular time. One, to land all those great hits on our Republican opponents and challengers, but two, as we begin to turn and staff internally, there will be a number of opportunities within the committee itself. So again, it can be a little bit of choose your own adventure. Find your niche. Is it comms? Is it fundraising? Is it doing some of that great political work, the constituency work, voter protection? There are many various disciplines on the campaign. And if you're fresh out, there are obviously lots of opportunities to sort of get your foot in the door. But I think making contact with any of those specific campaigns or following up with me after this panel, and we can point you in the right direction.
All right, Jessica says she want to hire y'all. Okay, yes, that's pretty much what I just heard right there. Justin, talk to the people. What are the opportunities? How do people plug in?
Yeah, and again, at BLC, our goal is to make leadership, particularly at the campaign level, campaign managers. We want to make leadership more reflective of the Democratic electorate, right? The folks that help us gain majorities, that help us win executive seats, that help us win congressional seats, and what have you. So in order to do that, we believe that, folks have to manage cycle after cycle. That is how you gain in your level of responsibility, your level of campaign, and hopefully become a decision maker at one of the key committees like where Jess is, or manage a presidential one day. So when I talk about this, there's 2 distinct buckets through our state manager program that will be hiring. The first is the folks that are in cohort. Those are the folks that we are supporting with a year-long training. There are also actual managers on the ground in Virginia right now while they're receiving that training. So those 17 managers that are in the state of Virginia, hoping to flip the House of Delegates and create one of the first Black speakers in the South, will be hiring. They are hiring right now things like organizers and finance directors, and in some rare instances, communications directors. So folks should look to Virginia as a place where you can get hired and get some really good initial experience on a state-led campaign. The second bucket, of course, are our alumni. And again, our goal is to make sure that our alums, our managers, are graduating in level of experience and going to higher level campaigns. And as we speak, we have a number of managers doing great things. One manager is managing John Tester in Montana. Another manager is doing a gubernatorial in North Carolina. Two managers are doing LG races in North Carolina and Pennsylvania. And then there's a number of managers that are working at the congressional level, managing at the congressional level, both incumbents and in challengers, with the hopes of taking back the House next year. All of them, I can tell you at the moment, are looking for finance staff. That's something that's really important at that statewide and congressional level, and that's where they usually start. So folks who have a finance background, again, should either reach out to us or look to some of those races in those states, because I'm assuring you that you will get hired if you are a finance person or have an interest there. And then next year, they'll start to hire things like organizing staff and what have you.
I'm going to ask everybody that before you wrap this conversation, that you give your email and or a link to follow up. And, Justin gets the points for most opportunities laid out right there, so everyone's going to win their question and answer cycle. I love that Justin just tipped his own cap. Okay. That's impressive right now. Black man swag. I support that. I support that. So we're talking through the opportunities. I also think it's practical and necessary for us to talk about the environment that folks are going to be in this cycle. And very specifically, we are watching on the other side candidates and campaigns where their focus is going to have to go as far right, as far racist, as far sexist, as far discriminatory as possible for their campaigns to win. And sometimes we don't think about the impact that has on our staff, who have to endure all of this. One of my staffers, Corinne Ray, who runs a lot of our operation, was talking earlier about how a sibling of theirs being trans and the impact in Florida that has there. So I'm asking everybody to answer this question. What are you doing to prepare your teams for the environment that we're in right now? Right? This is not a normal space. Like we taking it back to, late 50s and 60s. Of having to campaign, where someone has to go home and process all that they've endured throughout that day. So I'm asking. I'm going to start with Justin, since he tipped the cap earlier. Right here, and then we'll work our way back around. Give some perspective, because I think we often don't talk about, if you give people a sense of the welcoming culture that they're entering into, it makes it more likely for them to then want to go work for those campaigns. Yeah. Right, and work for those causes. So Justin, take it away first.
Yeah, I think it starts with the way that we train. We try to train our managers, and I should take a step back, right? Like, we should first recognize that a lot of our managers, because of the type of folks that we're trying to recruit into this program, right, are folks that are coming from marginalized communities, right? So oftentimes they've already experienced some trauma in their own lives, which has motivated them to frankly get involved in these campaigns to create change, the change that we all want to see as progressives, right? And then they're entering this campaign space, which, as you said, is one that can be daunting, whether it's what the opponent is doing to your principal, your candidate, or frankly, just how you are dealing with those attacks and the lifestyle that a campaign requires, the hours that a campaign requires. So we do several things. We start by making sure we're teaching soft skills to our campaign managers during that first 6-week intensive. Things like how to take care of yourself and manage self-care for your staff, right? We teach them, or we try to train them, that there's other things to do on a campaign besides go to a bar every night, right? Like, how are you creating community amongst your staff? How are you providing opportunities for staff to get to know each other in a very different way? I also would like to say that, one of the intentional pieces of our program is that we do create community amongst like folks, right? So when we do have instances where individuals or communities are going through some type of trauma, we have the ability to quickly create a space for all of our managers to come together and to talk through how they're actually feeling in the moment, and to reassure them that they are, as leaders, have the ability to create the change that we want them to see. And last but not least, and this is one that is very personal to me, we provide therapy to our managers. And I can't tell you how important that is, right? These are leaders. Being a manager is often a very lonely job where you are bearing the brunt of everything that is the campaign, both good and bad, whether it's coming from a committee, coming from your candidate, coming from the kitchen cabinet, or coming from the opponent, right? So the manager should, we encourage all of our managers to seek out therapy, and we provide access 24 hours a day so that these managers can make sure that they are taking care of themselves first, then have the ability to take care of their staff.
Let me tell you, I've been formally involved in campaigning going back to 2006. I think that's the first time I've ever heard of an entity saying they have that kind of therapy and support at scale. So salute to y'all for that. And it's necessary, especially given what's coming these next few weeks and next few months. All right, no pressure on the rest of y'all. I mean, Justin came in strong on that answer right there. Craig, we'll do Craig, Jessica, Quentin. How are you preparing your teams for the environment that we're in?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question. I think that encouraging, for me, I like to encourage my staff to really take care of themselves, carve out time, whether it's during the day or after work on the weekends, to do self-care, and to always be really upfront about, what challenges they're facing, and to come and talk to me. And I know, having been a campaign staffer, it's a little bit more 24/7 than working at some of the places we work at. And I think that having, identifying the people in your personal life that are going to be your support network and help you through it is really important. Obviously, I think campaigns are one of the highlights of campaigns is really bonding with your coworkers who are who are in the trenches fighting with you. But it can get overwhelming in just how busy, how stressful it is. And then add on top of it the political environment we're in. So I think just encouraging people to set boundaries and really remember that they have to carve out time for self-care, because if you are not doing that, you're eventually going to burn out or not be able to really do your job as well as you can. So I think it's really important to, even when things are busy, to realize that has to be a priority.
In 2012, in the Obama reelect, on Friday afternoons, there was a point, usually around 3:00, we would shut things down from work, and there was this putt competition that would happen in headquarters. And at first, people were like, okay, I don't really get down with that. And all of a sudden, you have like 200 people losing their mind about some putt. Like, they needed that mental break because the grind of the week. And I say that as an example to what you just mentioned, Craig, and I'm talking to Justin before I go to Jessica. We witnessed a literal tragedy when Alex passed away in our office. And, we obviously talk about it more. Like, this young cat effectively had a heart attack in the office, right? So people had to return back to a space where they saw that, right? And then in the midst of that, hey, go get this man reelected. So you had to tell people, I don't care what your boundary is, create it and tell me what it is so I can support you with that along the way as well. Jessica, Quentin, what are you doing to prepare your teams for this environment that we're in right now?
So one of the things that we've done, and I think our role as the committee, is to really create some of that infrastructure and a lot of what Justin spoke of. And so when I was expanding my leadership portfolio at the DSCC, one of the things I advocated for strongly was this Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer role. And that was one, not only to make sure that we were integrating, thinking of a more inclusive workforce, not only internally at the committee, but what that looked like also on our campaigns. And with that, we really implored the help of folks that you guys probably know well, Renee Redwood and Holly Holiday, as consultants that we utilize. And they were very integral in creating the campaign safety and equity plan that was brought by the Bernie campaign many cycles ago. And what we did was sort of re-outfit that to really help us, one, train up our staff, but you can't really focus on sort of the inclusion of others if people don't feel safe, and really recognizing and leaning into the safety aspect. I worked at the DNC when we received bomb threats and had a dog sort of walking through the premises. And I know many staffers still feel very unsafe because of that pipe bomb that was located near the DNC headquarters that we still don't know in light of the January 6th attacks. And so when you think about even the proximity of some of the work, particularly at the headquarters staff, that safety piece is really, really critical in making sure folks feel like they are, one, in a safe space, that their safety is the first and foremost priority, and then that they're able to show up as their most authentic selves. And so really like thinking about the layers of how you really build all of that in. And of course, the self-care, the taking time, creating those boundaries are all part of that. But really making sure that folks have faith in us to provide for them a safe working environment. So whether it's, a physical threat or potentially microaggressions, that you are comfortable coming and talking to someone and seeking help when you need it.
And as we go to Quentin, I mean, it's just a perfect reminder, right? Like, again, this is new environments where you have to be thinking about actual security protocol and sweeps that you're doing of buildings, and how do you coordinate with advance, and saying to your staff and saying to the people that are working for you, hey, I hope something doesn't happen. Well, we got to prepare for that. Quentin, how are you preparing your teams and looking for new talent to say, in this environment that we're in right now, how do we get you ready?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'm going to answer it twofold. So at Run for Something is a fully remote organization. So we're in a very privileged position to not have to deal with the very serious threats that Jessica just described. I imagine as the political season heightens up, that like our state-based infrastructure, our state-based folks will start to feel a little bit of the political climate on the ground, because that's where it happens. You're out canvassing, knocking doors, and then you get, confronted with somebody that doesn't agree with your values, your morals, and so on. But organizationally at Run for Something, we're very blessed to have a 4-day work week. That 4-day work week allows for Fridays to be completely offline. Now, I'm not going to pretend like every single Friday I'm able to just take off. In fact, most Fridays I'm not able to. But there is something to be said about not having the pressure of needing to be on, having meetings constantly, having space to ideate and think about the work that needs to be done, and then being able to prioritize yourself for some other portion of the day. So we're really, really good about that at Run for Something. Leading the political team at Run for Something, I encourage my team to build in work blocks. We start our day with a work block. Just handle some lightweight administrative tasks. Don't start your day jumping into a meeting that's going to require 80% of your brain capacity straight out the gate. Like, let's ease into this stuff because it's never done. We just do our part and pass the torch. Now, switching my other hat, because I'm the president of the Las Vegas NAACP. I'm based in Las Vegas, and that is a free job. My branch members are free members. My programming is run by folks that care about protecting and advancing civil rights. What have we been doing to create a culture there is adding greater capacity, finding more people to join us. Because again, it's really easy to get burnt out in this work. So the best thing one could do is duplicate yourself. If you have a friend that cares about the things that you care about, bring them into the movement, so that when it is time for you to say, you know what, I need 2 weeks off, or I need a month to just disconnect from the work of fighting for affordable childcare or tenants' rights or any of those things, someone is standing in the gap for you that cares about the thing the same way that you do. Now, they may not do the work the same way that you do, and that's fine. but duplicating yourself is also how you can take care of yourself. Because again, it won't get complete with just us. We have to be replicating ourselves constantly. And that's what I'm trying to tell my executive committee branch members so that we can stay strong in this fight towards civil rights and protecting them.
Quentin, you about to get me in trouble because I got some of my staff on the line. They're going to hear 4-day work week, work blocks in the morning. They're going to be like, wait a minute, let's think about this right here. But they know I let them take vacations all the time, so it'd be okay. Okay. We're going to bring this home. Everybody, you have 30 seconds to answer this question, and then I'll do final comments. So everybody, we'll go full screen to everybody here. 30 seconds. Say how people follow up with you. And again, remind everybody, what is one way that you are going to help people in this cycle? 30 seconds to think about that. Way to follow up, and how are you going to help people trying to get engaged in this cycle? And since Quentin made all of our lives harder with his suggestions there, he gets to start with that right there.
Okay, I need you to hit me with the question one more time.
See, that's what happens. We get a 4-day work week out here, you know? So give your contact information, and then how are you going to help people in this cycle? How can Run for Something be the value add for folks that are trying to get in the game in this cycle?
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much. The way you can reach me is Quentin@runforsomething.net. I'm also on all the social medias with my actual name, not any made up names or aliases. So please feel free to find me. I'm happy to help however best I can. What am I going to do? Goodness, there's so much work on the horizon in the political department at Run for Something. We are developing a coalition to create greater education about the importance of down ballot offices. We talk all the time about the importance of the presidency and Senate races, and those things are important. But I think the real disservice that we do is when we don't talk about how down ballot offices impact your life tomorrow. The project that I lead at Run for Something is our Clerkwork project, which we're trying to find pro-democracy election administrators. And a lot of folks don't even realize that those are offices that you can run for, or how those offices impact your day-to-day life. So what we plan on doing is providing greater education about the role of those down ballot offices and how they play a function in our day-to-day existence and our way of life.
Okay. All right. Impressive. Craig, your contact info, how are you going to help in this cycle for the people on this line?
Yeah, definitely. So you can see my name on the screen. My email is just my first initial and then my last name. So coster@lcv.org. I know that a lot of like I said earlier, a lot of the candidates that we are talking to are always looking for talented staff. So happy to pass on your resumes if you do want to reach out and email me. Like I said, mostly work with U.S. House and some Senate candidates. But yeah, happy to be as helpful as I can.
We appreciate you. Justin, contact info, how people follow up, and how are you going to help people in this cycle?
Yeah, really easy. Justin.myers@blueleadership.com. Again, Justin.myers@blueleadership.com. You know, one thing that we love to do at Blue Leadership is just help people career path. And we want to think through how we can really fortify a real pipeline for people of color, people that identify as LGBTQIA+, and women to become high-level campaign managers in this space. So with that in mind, we're going to offer, I think for the first time, 3 to 4 information sessions prior to actually opening up the application for our state manager program. So I would encourage people to come to those information sessions. I'll attend them with my staff. Feel free to ask questions. And I'm always, anyone that knows me will tell you that I'm pretty frank. So, if you ask me questions about where your career is and how you can get there, I will certainly tell you whether or not you're at the point of being a manager or at least fit for our program, or if there's some things that you may want to go out and accomplish in order to get to that level. And then the last thing is, just send us your resumes. We're going to have a number of folks hiring this year and next. They're always going to be looking for good staff. They're trained well, so they know how to treat their staff, and they'll be really good to you. So definitely send us your resumes.
Excellent. We're going to make sure you get those resumes. Last but certainly not least, Jessica Knight Henry. How can we follow up with you, and how will you be providing help in this cycle?
Well, I wanted to send everyone to Craig. That seems like that might be the easiest way to go. But no, for real, knight-henry@dscc.org is my email address. I will self-admittedly say that email sometimes is where dreams go to die. As you can imagine, there's a lot there. But dscc.org/jobs is sort of a full picture. We also have a bunch of banks that feed resumes into sort of where our campaigns are as well. And so that is a surefire way for us to be in touch. And we're really proud of the efforts that we've done to, one, diversify sort of the workforce. And again, there are a number of opportunities, a lot of those frontline jobs, as Blake mentioned, and Justin mentioned, the finance staffers, those early comm staffers, those embeds. And so really would happy to make sure that we can sort of do a lot of the connecting of the dots there. But those are the easiest and most surefire ways to get to us. So thanks.
We want to thank this absolutely incredible panel that did their thing. You can give snaps to each other, to show love for your respective panelists right there. We're an incredibly urgent cycle, everybody. And I just wanted people to internalize that before the end of this month, there will be Supreme Court cases that will determine affirmative action, that will determine student loans, that will determine environmental protection, that will determine voting rights, all these pieces that are critical in our lives. And so we need you in the game. And as someone who has been a trainer and a trainee, who has been a staffer, who's been elected, has been in a vice chair, and continues to do the work of what we do at Atlas Strategy Group, we need you in the game. So everybody, we thank you. Follow us, atlasstrategy.group. You can see what we got going there if you want to learn about that, and be on the lookout of more conversations that we're going to be hosting and engaging this summer up on Martha's Vineyard, in DC during CBC, but be on the lookout for all those things. By then, these four will have hired all of y'all anyway, as well. And I would be remiss if I don't give a shout out to the National Democratic Training Committee and to the Collective PAC for what they're both doing, collective, making sure Black talent is being empowered. Quentin and Stephanie doing incredible things. NDTC making that next generation get empowered and supported as well. So with that, Mathoni, Jess, thank you for letting us be in the space. Much love to gain all day, every day. This is what you can expect from the 2024 cycle. Have a great afternoon, everybody.